Good morning. Guess what I'm making today? I'm making cabbage soup. And it's got my three favorite things, cabbage, carrot, and onion, which I enjoy as a stir fry, but it also makes a yummy soup. And this morning I've got it started. It doesn't take that long to make. It's just, this is actually what I'm going to be having for breakfast today, is cabbage, carrot, onion soup. I made this the other day and it tasted so good that I've been wanting it again, and I forced myself to take one day off because if I eat things too many days in a row, I get sick of it and I don't like it anymore, and I didn't want to get sick of it. So I made myself wait a day. Now, this is actually one large carrot, one large onion, and a medium-sized head of cabbage. Here's the rest of the cabbage going in there. And I'm just letting it get a bit of a stir fry. No oil or anything. Just the vegetables, and their own moisture is going to keep it moving. As long as I keep mixing it up once in a while. Don't let it get burned. And I've got it at a low temp. This is medium low. There we go. Get that mixed up good. And I'm just going to let it saute for a little bit. And when it gets to the point where it does want to stick, then I'm going to add my 3 cups of Hippocrates vegetable broth that I have. Give that a good shake. I'll put that 3 cups in. I'm going to add 3 diced potatoes. And then I'm going to come back and simmer it until everything's tender. I'll let you see what it looks like when it's done. I added a good dose of my butter blend. You can see I sprinkled the seasonings on there, and I wanted you to see that. And I realized I hadn't put the whole head of cabbage in. I still had a little bit more to go, so I chopped it up and threw it in. So I'm getting, you can see there's different levels of doneness here. There's some that's cooked and some that's fresh green. So I'm going to try and get that sauteed down a little bit too. And let's see, it's sticking. It was getting a little bit caramely before, but when I added the fresh cabbage, that seems to have loosened it up again. So, which is a good way of knowing. When you see it starting to get caramelized and sticking to the bottom, that's the perfect time to add the liquid, because that caramelization on the bottom is going to add more flavor. That little bit of browning will make it richer. So I want to cook it until I get that caramelization again. All right, I've added a total of 8 cups of liquid. I thought that was 3 cups of broth. I wasn't thinking, and I ended up putting in 6 cups of broth. That was a 2-quart container, not a 1-quart container, and I just wasn't thinking. I used up all my Hippocrates soup. Nuts. So anyhow, it's got 6 cups of Hippocrates soup and 2 cups of water for a total of 8 cups of liquid. And this is 3 potatoes. I've grated them. I'm adding them to the top. I'm not going to stir them in just yet. I'm bringing it up to a boil, then I'm going to put the lid on and turn it down to simmer. And I'm leaving the potatoes on top because in the past, when I've done it this way, if I stir the potatoes in too soon, they'll end up sticking on the bottom inside the pot. They'll stick on the bottom. I don't want them to stick. So they can just kind of sit on the top and simmer, and when the cabbage is all done, I'll stir it all in, let them finish up, and it'll be done. I'm going to season it with a little organic poultry seasoning. And if you don't have poultry seasoning, what's in it is organic thyme, sage, marjoram, rosemary, black pepper, and nutmeg. Now, if you're a Gerson person, you can't have black pepper and nutmeg, but you can have everything else that's in there, so you can add those in separately if you want. And it's going to be real tasty when that's done. I'll probably add extra pepper. Hi there. So, since we're quarantined and having to do our distancing, my neighbors, they're right there, but we can't get together. And it's interesting, in our neighborhood here, the neighbors are all just a little, I don't know, keep to themselves, I'll put it that way. And I like to reach out to them, and folks just aren't looking for neighbors, or they aren't looking for friends or whatever, and it's interesting. And I still want to reach out to them, and especially right now when I think things
you know, if it's challenging for me, it's got to be challenging for them. You know, we're all in this together, and I want them to realize that. So the thought that came to mind the last few days is there's a lot of darkness in the world, but there's a lot of light. And we need to be the light. We need to share the light, which is God's love, His truth, His salvation. And I got an idea the other night. We hadn't put our, you know, those fake candles you can put in the window and they kind of flicker. We hadn't put them away yet. They're in a box, but they just hadn't been stuck up on the shelf in the garage yet. They were waiting to go up on the shelf. And I said something to Chris. I said, let's put some candles up. And we put one in the back because we've got a neighbor out back. And we put two in the front window because we have two neighbors right across the street from us that can see them. And I called the neighbor out back and I said, I just want you to know that you're not alone. And we're putting this candle in our window for you. And she so appreciated that. She really appreciated that. And then I let the other folks know across the street out front. I said, you know, I just want you to know you're not alone. And there's two candles in the window, one for you and one for the other neighbor, just so you know. And they both really appreciated it. And it's like, you know, such a little gesture, but I wanted them to know that we care. And I don't know how else to do it. So in light of that, I don't mean to be using bad puns here, but I'm not going to share anything personal other than that story I just told you. What I would like to do is read a series of 5 scriptures for you. And I'll put the references down below so you can look them up yourself, okay? The people walking in darkness have seen a great light. On those living in the land of the shadow of death, a light has dawned. When Jesus spoke again to the people, he said, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. Do everything without complaining or arguing, so that you may become blameless and pure, children of God without fault, in a crooked and depraved generation, in which you shine like stars in the universe, as you hold out the word of life, in order that I may boast on the day of Christ that I did not run or labor for nothing. The God of this age has blinded the minds of unbelievers, so that they cannot see the light of the gospel of the glory of Christ, who is the image of God. For we do not preach ourselves, but Jesus Christ as Lord, and ourselves as your servants for Jesus' sake. For God, who said, let light shine out of darkness, made his light shine in our hearts to give us the light of the knowledge of the glory of God in the face of Christ. I did not see a temple in the city, because the Lord God Almighty and the Lamb are its temple. The city does not need the sun or the moon to shine on it, for the glory of God gives it light, and the Lamb is its lamp. The nations will walk by its light, and the kings of the earth will bring their splendor into it. On no day will its gates ever be shut, for there will be no night there. The glory and honor of the nations will be brought into it. Nothing impure will ever enter it, nor will anyone who does what is shameful or deceitful, but only those whose names are written in the Lamb's book of life. I thought that was a nice sequence of verses. All right, we will see you tomorrow.